already?
There it is.
Great. Take it away.
All right. Well, buenos dias, everyone. Good morning. Today is May 9th, 2022, and welcome to the Military Working Group. I'm Alejandra Sotelo Solis, Mayor of the City of National City, and your host for today as Chair of the Working Group. And we do want to make sure that we have quorum. So if I could ask the clerk, do we have quorum?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Mayor.
Outstanding, Phil. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. I would now like to review the process for both the working group, members, as well as members of the public who wish to speak under public comment. For the working group members, when you'd like to speak, please click on the raise hand button on your Zoom control panel. You have control of your video and mute, so please turn on your camera if you'd like to speak, and then I'll call on you. Members, do we have any questions on how to raise that hand button? Nope, we're good. All right. Now, Phil, can you provide a quick reminder on how the public comments will work?
Definitely. So as noted on the cover page of today's meeting agenda, in addition to email comments, the public also may provide live comments during today's meeting. To provide a live verbal comment during the meeting, please join the Zoom meeting either by computer or phone. At the time for public comments, members of the public are advised to raise hand, hit the raise hand button if you wish to provide comments. The raise hand feature can be found on the Zoom toolbar for those who are joining via computer, or by entering *9 for those joining via telephone only. The chair will call on members of the public by name of those joining via computer and by the last 3 digits of your telephone number for those joining via telephone. All comments received prior to the close of the meeting will be made part of the meeting record. The instructions for providing live comments are also on the bottom of the cover page of today's meeting agenda, which can be accessed from the homepage of Sandag's website at www.sandag.org. Back to you, Chair.
All right, thank you so much. So before we get started, I just wanted to share that I'm very, very excited for the opportunity to chair this very important Sandag working group. As Mayor of the City of National City, we value our partnership with the military, and we even share a fence line with Naval Base San Diego. So even more so with the partnership and opportunities that we have when we collaborate on common interests. At the regional level and as Sandag, this working group has provided a wonderful opportunity to collaborate with various branches of the military to address those areas of mutual interest, including growth management, habitat, transportation, regional growth, housing, water, energy, and a lot more. I look forward to serving as your chair and getting to know all of you as we continue this valued partnership. So now, Mr. Clerk, do we have any members of the public wishing to address us on this item? Or wishing to address us on non-agenda items?
Thank you, Chair. I don't see any. Yes. Oh, yes, there is one. Nicole Burgess. I'll unmute you.
Good morning. Thank you, Phil. I appreciate it. And I just wanted to just say congratulations to you, Chair and Mayor Alejandra Solis. Super excited for your leadership on this working group. And as the members know, I've been involved and sat at this working group for the last several years since it kind of originated, I believe, and was part of the multimodal strategy that's been happening, that happened a couple of years ago. So I just wanted to just say thank you. Inclusivity and Homeland Security and 30% of our economy that comes from the military, and how they move, and the transportation and how they move around our city is like a huge part of the conversation and discussion. So I just look forward to Sandag staff. Thank you always for your time and efforts as we move forward and try to get more people out there. The military, to me, is just a huge part of the picture that we just need to keep working at. So thank you so much.
Gracias, Nicole. We appreciate you. Any other members wishing to address us in public comments?
Chair, I don't see any other hands raised.
All right, with us, we'll now move on to item 2. And this is the review and approval of the minutes from its December 6, 2022 meeting. Again, that was a couple months ago, but those members I would like to approve, I need a motion and a second. You can unmute yourself, say, this is Jeff, I approve, or move to approve, and then we'll get a second.
This is Jim, motion to approve.
Outstanding. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate you. Do I hear a second?
Andy Hall, second.
Andy Hall, second. All right. All those in favor? Oh, actually, we do have a roll call vote. I was going to do it by acclamation, but you know what? This is Sandag, so we got to go by roll call vote. Mr. Clerk.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thanks for the reminder as well, too. I'm just checking to see with the production room if they have the sheet for the roll call. So bear with me.
Bill,
Yes.
we can just do it all at once. That's what we typically do, even though it says
Okay.
it won't.
Oh, great. Okay, we can do it by acclamation, Mayor, if you're willing
Okay.
to do that.
All right, we have a motion by Jim, second by Andy. Any other discussion? All those, I see none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right, I see thumbs up. Awesome. Any opposition or no votes? Any abstentions? See none. Outstanding. Great vote. Good job, team. Moving on. We now move to, and that passes unanimously. We now like to go to member comments to see if there are any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns. If you'd like to share a thought, please raise your hand at this time. Dun, 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 dun. I don't see any.
Yeah, and Chair, I don't see any either.
All right. We'll now move on to item 3, and this is member public comments on the working group within the agenda that's for items that are not on the agenda. I think we already did that, no? Or did I just skip my? Well, do we have any members of the public wishing to address some public comment?
I don't see any hands raised, Chair.
Okay, we now move on to item 4, and that's priority updates. This is really looking at an overview of our Sandag priority projects for 2022 and the agency's ongoing social equity efforts. And as we look to really engaging, I really think this is important, you know, as an umbrella as to how we engage with not only the diversity of our constituencies, but the diversity of projects and how they all intersect with each other. So with that, I will kick it over to staff, and I believe it's Miss Antoinette.
You are correct. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. It's been quite a while since this working group has convened, so I actually have a number of exciting updates to share with you. My name is Antoinette Meyer. I'm the Director of Regional Planning here. So first and foremost, shortly after this group met in December, the Board of Directors approved the 2021 Regional Plan. You know, this was a couple of years in the works, and we're very excited about that, and we're already busy implementing projects in the plan. So one of those key projects, agency priorities, is the Otay Mesa East Port of Entry. And in February, we had more than 50 local, state, and federal representatives from the US and Mexico, joined by Sandag and Caltrans for a major binational summit, really highlighting the importance of this project and committing to work together to meet some very ambitious construction milestones so that we can open that new port of entry by the end of 2024. Also in February, 9 new miles of HOV lanes opened on northbound I-5 between Loma Santa Fe Drive in Solana Beach and Palomar Airport Road in Carlsbad. And then those southbound HOV lanes are set to open very soon. And I'm sure that you've heard on May 1st, we launched our Youth Opportunity Pass program. This is a really exciting project that provides free transit to anyone in the San Diego region on any transit service 18 and under. This is truly a life-changing opportunity for our region's young people, and we've been working very closely with our partners at the county and MTS and North County Transit District to get the word out about this first of its kind program. We're receiving very positive feedback from across the region, and we saw more than 1,500 Youth Pass signups during April. This is 3 times as many signups as we saw the 3 months prior between January and March combined. We would absolutely love your support with getting the word out about this program to military families. And we can send you a toolkit with all of the information so you can share that information. We also recently announced that we're moving forward on the Central Mobility Hub project to connect transit to the airport. This is one of our fundamental projects in the 2021 plan, and the environmental analysis is underway. And you can tune in this Friday to listen to the project team provide a comprehensive report to the board of directors. Since the beginning of the year, we've opened 11 miles of bikeways, and we'll open 11 more before the end of this calendar year. These bikeways are really completing critical portions of our regional network, and they're opening just in time for Bike to Work Day on May 19th. So we hope that you can hop on your bikes the morning of May 19th. Please help us spread the word to military employees, and they can stop by one of our 100 pit stops that will be around the region for Bike to Work Day, and registration is open online for that now. So that concludes my report, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Antoinette. Are there any questions or clarifications that are being asked of our committee or working group members?
Chair, I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, this is a quiet group for a Monday morning. Come on. All right, I know you're awake out there, but I think there's a multitude of really good bits of information that Antoinette just shared. And I know that we can provide any other follow-up information if you need from staff. The Youth Opportunity Pass, we've seen an uptick, which is great. And I just can't wait to continue promoting that. Anyone 18 and under rides free with the Pronto Pass or the Pronto Pass. So got to get them registered. All right. Do we have any members of the public wishing to address us on item 4?
Chair, I don't see any hands raised.
All right, we now move on to item 5. It's member introductions. Okay, so I said, I hope you're awake out there because this is all about you. So as you can see, I am somewhat a little lively. I still haven't had my coffee either, huh? But I just want to share that I really want to take this committee or the working group really to understand what some of the needs are and how we can really find that, as I mentioned earlier, that intersectionality. So what I'd love for you to do, and since it's my first time, I can ask you to do whatever I want, just kidding. But I do want you to take the time to introduce yourself, your agency or your installation organization, and share some of the, maybe the top 1 to 3 activities, major activities relevant to the working group. Again, this is really meant to be that introduction for me and also to each other. From what I've heard, you know, we haven't had a meeting since December. So I know that that's been a while. So we really want to do that reintroduction and go ahead and go around the room and make that happen. So to keep us organized, because we do like orderly fashion, I'll go ahead and call on each member starting, and we will be going in quasi-alpha order. So we'll start with City of Coronado.
Sotelo, they are not here.
Okay, so we move on. And it's interesting because we're going with City of Imperial Beach. So Andy Hall, you're up.
Thanks, Mayor. I hope you'll send some of your energy, save some of your energy, because we have a whole morning together. I think we have another meeting at lunch, so save some of your energy for that. But no, I'm Andy Hall. I'm the city manager for the City of Imperial Beach, and of course, the military working group is critically important to us. I'm glad that I get to go first because I get to steal the 2 issues that are important to us, and I think they're important to everyone on the screen, and that is housing and transportation. Of course, the military brings a lot of people to our community, and that's really important to us. We are truly a military community, but housing and housing prices have certainly skyrocketed well beyond the ability of people in the military to be able to live in our community, and that concerns us a lot because that just adds to the second problem, which is transportation, getting people to the bases on time and getting them home so they can spend time with their families. Those are 2 really challenging issues that transcend not just this military working group, but what's happening in and throughout our county in general. So, I think that the coordination that we have and ways to work together to try to find not only ways to provide housing to military personnel, but also helping them get to work and back home with their families in a reasonable amount of time is certainly two of the bigger priorities that the city of Imperial Beach has for this group. So thank you.
Thank you, Andy. And I think you hit those two, housing and transportation, being very critical. And I know that you guys are also too getting the federal funding for some of the water quality issues. I don't know if you wanted to just touch on that, because when we're up in the federal and state partners, it's really important to kind of speak as a voice. I don't know if you want to just quickly touch on that. I think that's really important as well.
You bet. Thank you, Mary. Yeah, I think it is important to point out that we've kind of entered a new phase of that effort now. The litigation against the IBWC has been settled by the different partners in the lawsuit, and we are now in kind of a planning and implementation period, and we really do need people's support. The federal government has provided about half of the funding necessary to complete the projects to contain the contamination of the transboundary spills that happen of both sewage, water, or sewage, trash, and debris that cross the border. So we're looking for about the other half of funding, which is about $300 million. The state of California is looking to provide some of that, and then we hope to get some from the federal government. And it is important to all of our partners, especially the military here in the Imperial Beach area. As you know, the Navy Coastal Campus is impacted on certain days by some of the water pollution that we have in this area. So it's important that we do solve that. So yeah, I really do appreciate, Mary, you bringing that up. And hopefully at some point we could place on the agenda a resolution of support to get the rest of the funding necessary to complete these projects so that we can all finally have clean water here in the South Bay.
I think I appreciate you sharing that information. And anytime we can get that out to our members, have the conversation, and I would love to have the dialogue here amongst the working group to see where we go from there. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate you. Okay, we now go on to City of Oceanside.
Chair, they are also not present.
Absent. All right, City of San Diego.
They are not present either. I think the next present member would be the county.
All right, so County of San Diego.
Good morning, everyone, and good morning, Mayor. I'm not the typical county representative. I'm sitting in for Rich Whipple. I'm on various other Sandag committees, like the tribal committees and whatnot. But I just want to say it's my honor today to attend this working group. The military is an important member of our community for sure. I don't know all the details that Rich might discuss, but I would say that for Fallbrook, our unincorporated community in Fallbrook is one of the major entrances to Camp Pendleton. So that's always a concern, ensuring the safety of our military, making sure they're able to traverse our roads. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah. Great. And I know that the County of San Diego has some great veterans programs and first-time home ownership programs. So, and right now with COVID-19 being hit hard, I know that when we talk about, covering those gaps, we want to make sure that our residents and our constituencies do take advantage of those. So anytime we can have an update, regarding those funds, please let us know, because we can push it out to our network. I think that's really important.
Will do. Thank you.
Because we can't leave money in that coffin.
Yes.
It's better to spend somebody else's money. So,
yep.
All right. Thanks so much, Phil. Appreciate you. All right. We now go on to the Marine Corps Installation West. Who's that?
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me? This is JJ Gamlin from Marine Corps Installations West.
Hey, JJ, we hear you loud and clear.
Oh, great. Okay, awesome. So two things. So actually introduction. So I work at Camp Pendleton, and for the sake of this meeting anyway, covered the three bases in San Diego County. So Miramar, and I back up Jim Grooney down there, MCRD, and then Camp Pendleton. So for two items, Pendleton and Miramar, really working with the CEC to develop a transportation electrification project as we convert our gas-powered fleet over to EVs. Another piece of that is upgrading the infrastructure that we have for charging aboard the installation. So we're working with the Energy Commission to upgrade the existing chargers that we have aboard both Pendleton and Miramar. So not only can we charge our government fleet, but we also will be able to provide charging services to patrons. So that's at the front end, but we're really excited to work with the state and get that rolling. The second thing I'd mention is that the Defense Community and Infrastructure Program that everyone's intimately familiar with, announcement came out last Thursday that like a pre-release. So within the next couple of weeks, they should be coming out with their announcement. This year, there's $90 million available, which I believe is up about 40 from last year, to provide communities the opportunity to put in proposals for infrastructure projects that they have that also benefit local military installations. So as soon as we get that, we'll certainly push that out and share that. I'm sure you guys will be on it about the same time we will, but anyway, we'll make sure we get that information out. So that's it for MCI West, if there are any questions.
Thank you so much, JJ. Really appreciate you. And I'm curious, are you looking as well as pushing electric vehicle like purchasing amongst the Marines themselves and or family members?
So I'm not sure I understand the question. So we have our vehicle fleet, government fleet. We're in the process of doing that. That'll take a number of years, but that is an initiative across the service that we have going on. But also what the charging stations would do is we would be able to allow folks to charge off the stations here. So families, as well as federal employees like myself, would be able to use those chargers. Currently, that's not the case. They're solely used for the electric vehicles that we have as part of our government fleet.
Great.
Hopefully that answers the question.
So let me clarify. The question is more so, I know that there are incentive programs in various communities to encourage people to purchase electric vehicles, and especially in communities of concern, those rebates, making sure that people understand, and it's sometimes just a flyer and saying, hey, check out this website. This is the place where they sell, said vehicles. And that was my question, more so on the individual basis versus the installation itself. It's good to hear that the charging stations will be available for the public in the future, not yet, but it's more so how we can produce those opportunities so more people know where to go.
Yeah, so I believe that our Comstrat, so we run articles on that kind of thing. I don't know that we point to specific dealerships that have those vehicles available, but what we've seen is people are making those choices. So there is a movement afoot to convert to electric vehicles, and I don't know that we can solicit or advertise for specific outlets, so to speak.
No, we're a government agency. We can't do that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, hands are tied. But I think it's always good to send them to those, collaborative groups that say, hey, or we have a comparison of all of the vehicles. This is where you need to go. But appreciate your input there, JJ. Thank you so much. We now go to Marine Corps. I'm sorry.
I was going to say thank you.
All right. We now go to Marine Corps Recruit Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. This is Jim Gurney. I'm the community liaison at MCRD San Diego. As far as the activities that this group would be concerned with, and activities that frankly we're concerned with, that we think this group can help, kind of hits back where Andy was talking about with transportation for us. As most of you know, we sit in downtown San Diego. We share a fence line with the airport. Traffic congestion it can be an issue getting to and from the depot. I think our activities that matter are really routine operations. Our primary missions are recruiting and recruit training. We're in charge of all recruiting in the western half of the United States. And then those that we recruit from the western half of the United States, we bring to MCRD San Diego to provide basic training before they continue with their training and operational missions in the Marine Corps. That brings about 17,000 or so trainees to the base. We have about 40 graduations a year that bring family members into San Diego. Adds a little bit of traffic, especially on Thursdays and Fridays and around the depot. And we also have somewhere in the neighborhood of 6,000 individuals that are permanent party personnel that don't live on the base. We have very little housing on the base. So most of our people live out in town. They commute to and from. So the roadways matter to us. I know the note on the central mobility hub that was brought up earlier is certainly of interest because we think the location is going to be, within, a few hundred meters likely of our fence line. So we want to see what with the incoming of a good number of projects in the area. How can we actually improve the infrastructure, both for roads and pedestrian travel, bikeways, in order to make transit in and out of MCRD San Diego a little easier? But I know that's something that Sandag is focusing on, and we certainly appreciate it.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jim. I really appreciate that. Have we, through Sandag, what has been the outreach to some of those folks that live in town and then travel in with regard to getting their input or, providing their voice regarding travel?
I'm not sure what the direct outreach is from Sandag to our population. Part of that, frankly, is my job. I sit and coordinate with Sandag, and I need to be in touch with the personnel on our installation to keep a pulse on what they're feeling. I could tell you, gas is expensive. We don't like that. I have seen a move to electric vehicles. I can look out in the parking lot and kind of see the changes that are taking place. But frankly, it's in and around the depot. You probably have some needed road repairs and upgrades. And again, we're hoping that some of the new development that's taking place in and around the depot is going to, some of that will be factored into to the planning. And that's what I'm looking to Sandag to try to take care of.
Great. I know you have a built-in audience, and I do see Antoinette has unmuted herself. Go ahead.
Chair, I just wanted to chime in more generally on outreach to the military population, and you'll hear shortly from our Transportation Demand Management Program Manager, Jay Thought, but we do have dedicated outreach staff for the military, and we do a lot of work to help military employees find transportation solutions and options. And then on our specific projects, planning projects that we do in coordination with the military, and you'll hear about one of our resilience studies coming up. We also, work closely to make sure that we're getting input from and getting the word out to the affected military households. So just a little bit of what we do to get the word out and include military in our work.
Great. And I am taking a little bit more time kind of trying to work to have that understanding. And since we know that Thursdays and Fridays with graduations and the promotions of the Marine Corps on those days, it may be even interesting to take a poll where they're coming from. Are they coming from the hotels, like literally like right or across the street or the freeway? And maybe if we created a transit or a flexible fleet that, did that stop, or, I know we're talking the mobility hub, would that be that space? So we've got a built-in audience. I think that's a great spot to use them with. I do have Andy Hall. You have your hand raised one more time.
Yeah, you had called on the city of Coronado earlier. I just wanted to point out that Councilman Donovan is here. It's just,
Okay.
I don't know if we went too fast, but I did want to point that out.
Okay, great. Well, he's gonna have to wait because we're gonna go through the list one more to keep going. So I've got MTS, National City, Navy Region Southwest, NCTD, and Port of San Diego. Then we'll go back up to City of Coronado. So MTS, who's on?
Chair, I believe
Thank
we
you,
can
Mayor.
go. Oh, sorry.
So yes, I'm Rodrigo Carrasco. I'm a senior transportation planner with MTS, and I'm also the liaison to the military. And so I've been working with the different bases, trying to find ways to increase usage of our service and help, largely the Navy work with their limited parking, especially at Naval Base San Diego. Then also partnering with the Sandag iCommute and the Navy to try to find ways to market the TIPS program to get more military personnel to apply for their free transit passes. And working with, the nature of it, which is a huge piece of our workforce that routinely switches. So, there's people who will be here for a few months, few years, and then they'll go. So it's a constant effort to promote the TIP program and get military personnel and Department of Defense personnel enrolled in the program so they can ride transit for free.
Great. Well, thank you, Rodrigo. I really appreciate you being here. And we're going to be pushing the youth opportunity passes and
Yeah,
as we
yes.
mentioned earlier, and getting more people on that mass transit. Thank you.
Great to have you.
Gracias. Okay, we'll now go to National City. Mr. Ralston, I do see you here.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Let's see. I mean, I think, the other cities covered a lot in terms of housing and transportation. Clearly, the mayor, or in her capacity as mayor, we work together every day dealing with different issues. The one that I would add to the list that I know the mayor's passionate about, that we're working hard on, is childcare. I think that that clearly is an issue that needs to be addressed in terms of serving the military. And I think there's an opportunity for cities to help partner. I know the city of Coronado is not present, but they were able to convert a school, an elementary school, to support childcare over on the island. And then I will also just share with the group that we are in the process of submitting for what's now referred to as, I believe, an OLDCC grant. Previously, it was a JLUS grant. I know what that meant, which was Joint Land Use Study. Not sure exactly what the new acronym stands for, but it serves a similar purpose where we can work collaboratively with Naval Base San Diego to address some of the planning issues around transportation, resiliency, et cetera. I think it's important, having worked in the city for now 16 years, alongside the mayor. As we know, there's a constant changing of the guard as it relates to the commanding officer. We're working with Captain Carlson now. I understand that will be for a little less than a year, but to have that continuity as we continue to work on really the same issues. But our 8th Street trolley station has been identified as a mobility hub. There's access issues. We're trying to elevate pedestrians and bikes as a viable alternative to commute to the base. And I think as we build out our downtown, which is adjacent, we're going to be able to at least provide some of the supply of the housing that's going to be needed as we continue, as sailors continue to move into the region. So I think we're on a good track. If we are able to get this grant, it will be a unique opportunity to plan on both sides of the fence line simultaneously, and we can really talk about collaboration on a deeper level. So thank you, Madam Chair. If there's anything I missed, then obviously fill in the gaps.
I think you did well there. You can keep your job. I'm just kidding. But you did well. I think as we talk about the opportunities, we really want to help share the information. As Brad mentioned, I think we are able to, create these great ideas, but we shouldn't keep them to ourselves. We should really be multiplying them and amplifying them throughout the county. And so I really want to say thank you to our city manager, Ralston, and Captain Carlson and his team for really having that open ear and really sharing how we can work together. And I did find out that OLDCC stands for, thank you, Adam, Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation. They put it in the chat. So for those that wanted to know, for the alphabet soup, add it to the list, add it to the vocab list. But thanks, Brad, appreciate you. All right, we now go to Navy Region Southwest, followed by NCTD. Navy Region Southwest, who's here today?
Hey, good morning, Madam Chair. Steve Chung here with you and the group. Welcome, first and foremost, on behalf of Navy Region Southwest and Admiral Barnett for your first meeting here on the Military Working Group. That being said, Madam Chair, my name is Steve Chung. I am the Encroachment Program Director for Navy Region Southwest, dual-hatted as the Department of Defense, Energy Compatibility Lead for the West Coast of the United States. So multiple hats, but working with a great team of agency and our military representatives, including the 3 metro installations for Naval Base San Diego, Naval Base Coronado, and Naval Base Point Loma. Madam Chair, and to our military working group colleagues, the 2 kind of core initiatives, and they're not new per se, but it's a continuity. It's been referenced a few times. I hear in partnership initiative, pursuing grant opportunities with at the state and federal level. We have been fortunate, we on the Navy Region Southwest and Navy team, to have started initiatives with Caltrans, County San Diego, Sandag, working on several currently with the Port of San Diego. Brad mentioned the OCC, and this is a military working group. So yes, there will be acronyms at times, so my apologies. But Madam Chair, as we continue to move forward in a resource constrained environment at all levels, local, state, federal, we believe it becomes vital, almost absolutely necessary to leverage the opportunities, whether it is for a grant to do studies jointly with our agency partners in our communities, or as more opportunities are surfacing. JJ mentioned the upcoming DSIP proposal for infrastructure, but I will share with our military working group and a commitment that this group made last year during one of our earlier meetings, and that is to share opportunities in advance of these partnership initiatives, these grant initiatives that we can do together to get to the win-win-win outcome. These grants are never guaranteed, but we'll never know unless we put the time, effort, and collaboration toward pursuing them jointly. That's one of the core areas we will continue to focus on. The other area, Madam Chair, that you briefly alluded to at the opening is our enhanced awareness and engagement as it relates to some of the initiatives of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Some of the areas of our more robust engagement now with activities that are being started, more so with the County San Diego, City San Diego, on incorporation of their general plan and core elements that provide the policy framework that codifies some of these aspects. We, at least on the military team, feel very compelled to engage and support this as our fabric and our communities equates and resembles the fabric that we reside in. So I would say, Madam Chair, without belaboring, those are kind of the two main areas that our military team will continue to work jointly with our agency partners, including our military working group. Back to you, Madam Chair. Over.
Thank you. And I know that Rear Admiral has been amazing in his work and commitment to DEI, as well as, the really recognizing that, as you said, we are a reflection of our community. And again, that's ethnicity, gender, that is economic status. And we really want to make sure that everyone has access when it comes to all of the topics that we've been discussing today. Sometimes we can get very siloed and just say, okay, I got to get this and mission driven, and yes, but how does it play into the bigger picture of San Diego County and our region? And however we can continue to having that bridge, I hope that this working group can be part of that conversation or be the conduit for that as well. Do you want to share anything else, Steve?
No, I would say concur 1,000%, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. We now move on to NCTD, followed by Port of San Diego.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Mary Balderrama. I am a transit planner at NCTD, and today I'm serving as an alternative for Ricky Cervantes, who's the usual rep. The primary issue that NCTD is experiencing is a shortage of drivers, which has impacted service frequency for our buses. So anything that NCTD can be involved with to recruit more from servicemen and servicewomen or veterans, please let me know. Maybe hiring fairs. We offer great bonuses and really stable jobs. So anything that you have ideas there, I'm open to. Thank you.
Awesome. Anytime we can put out job opportunities, especially for possibly the spouses or partners of our working men and women, let's provide those opportunities, even when they come out of their official service. I think that's great. Yeah, something to put out on the sphere for staff on the list. So we have a list of potential things to send out to folks. So let's add that to the list, please. Good.
Will do, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate you. Okay, Port of San Diego. Who's here today?
Hey, good morning, Madam Chair. It's Frank Tassin. I'm the representative for the city of Coronado on the Board of Port Commissioners. As many of you know, this is my second time serving on the board. Delighted to be there. The Port of San Diego and the military are the two main partners that manage or that have the biggest presence, obviously, in San Diego Bay. And as such, we have a very close working relationship with the military. We're stewards of the environment together. We work together on electrification efforts, on emissions reductions efforts, on facilities leasing, working with the military, trying to help them on their mission. And since we have such a large presence there, we have the ability to do that. Just recently, we were in Washington, D.C., had the opportunity to meet with the Admiral there, Admiral Lindsay, and it was great to be able to touch base with them, coordinating of the various activities that we have there at the Port of San Diego. So delighted to be joining you today. Thank you for your leadership and hosting us here. Thank you.
Well, it's so good to see you again, Frank. My goodness.
Thank you.
It's been a while. Pero bienvenido. It's great. We know that the Port of San Diego plays such an integral role when we talk about our working waterfront, expansion. And I know we haven't talked about it in a while, but I know we have talked about, and this will be for Steve, when we talk about, new ships coming in to base here, we really want to make sure that our infrastructure and the services that we provide are meeting not just the active duty, but we know everybody's going to probably bring at least one, if not two, members of the family. So it's going to be a 1+, however many. And our infrastructure, when I mean infrastructure, it's not just housing. It's about the schooling. It's about public safety. It's hospitals. It's all those needs. And so how we can address it, in concert with the port and our military, I think is essential.
Thank you, Mayor.
Gracias, Frank. Bienvenido. Gracias.
Gracias.
Okay. I know Frank was representing he represents the city of Coronado, but I'm going to give the opportunity to Councilmember Donovan. He said he's not the rep. He said he's not the officially here, but representative. But I'd love to give the Councilmember the opportunity if you'd like to say a few words.
Chair, I believe the Councilmember Donovan said his microphone wasn't working, but maybe we'll hold it open for a moment if he was able to resolve that. But just wanted to share.
Yes, no, you're right. He did say that. He typed it in. Okay, type your message. If you can hear us. Well, sorry, Mike. We appreciate you. We're really glad you're here. City of Coronado represented. All right, we will move on to the next item, and I appreciate the group taking the time to share a little bit more. I will now ask the clerk if there are any items or members of the public wishing to address us on the introductions. Did we have anybody?
Sorry, I was switching screens. I don't believe so. And actually, I lost my chat. Can I just confirm with production there are no hands raised?
For item 5, correct.
Nicole Burgess has her hand raised.
All right, item 5, public comment. Ms. Burgess.
Excellent. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just really appreciate your leadership and I love it. And I thank all the members for reporting and introducing on all the different topics. And so housing and transportation, and of course, clean water, and so many other issues so that all of you guys brought out. And I think it's just really valuable, Chair, that how you frame this. It's about our discussions and our conversations and that education component of how we address these. I believe Jim Grunny said 17,000 folks come in. So we have this audience, like you say, this important audience of where the housing is actually awesome, right? Like I go out in these communities and I talk to the people that are talking to the military families. And it's like, are we telling the story that we need to move to Fallbrook and Temecula to find housing when there's housing in National City and City Heights and around these beautiful urban areas that we really need to make sure that we're educating our military members on, and how important advice how we can explore more EVs, and also how is maybe some of that recruit training on how to actually move within our urban core of San Diego by bike. And I want to give shout out, kudos to your city, National City. Amazing. Brad Walston is doing amazing work. Childcare is important, and the amazing work with Safe Routes to Schools. So love all the work and all the folks that could actually from National City hit those 5 military bases right on the waterfront. And that's why I'm a huge advocate for Choyas Creek. So really love to hear Steve Chung and the collaboration for partnerships and grants. And then Sandag is here. And then just the last minute on moving to the North County, Camp Pendleton, those folks are extremely important as well. Oceanside actually does a lot of biking, but that Oceanside community to the main gate is probably like not a very friendly bike ride. I've done it many times. And then you're not allowed to be on base. So we really actually have to look at that corridor of getting more people. And that's a Caltrans one, and I don't think they're here. So I just really appreciate all the representation here, and as you continue to say, collaboration and education, and how so for this conversation and the military leaders that are representative and the city managers that are representatives is how do we actually have that conversation to work with Rodrigo and MTS and NCTD and getting that those military folks, those new folks in our city of San Diego to understand that we can actually move through the city in a more efficient, cleaner, and more economical way than cars. So I appreciate Vanpool and the items to come up. So thank you for letting me comment.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Any other members of the public wishing to address us on item 5?
Thank you, Chair. I don't see any other hands raised.
All right, we now move on to item 6, and this is the military installation resilience phase 2. And staff's going to provide an update on this project, as well as with the staff and consultant team, what their role is for the working group. All right, now to turn it over to Adam. You're up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hello, my name is Adam Viss. I'm a regional planner here at Sandag, working between the sustainable communities and climate teams. Today, I'm presenting on the military installation resilience project. I hope that you use this presentation as an opportunity to provide an update on phase 1 and an introduction to phase 2. Next slide, please. So first, I will introduce the project management team. It's changed a little bit since we last presented. Then I'll go over the grant goals. Next, I will talk about the deliverables coming out of phase 1. Our project team had presented to this group in October, so this may be familiar. Finally, I'll note the phase 2 goals and provide a timeline. Next slide, please. So joining me in the project management side of things is Jeff, Senior Regional Planner here at Sandag. Sandag subject matter experts are Bruce in engineering, Patty in transportation demand management, and Grace and Michael in data. Our Navy counterparts are Muska from Naval Base Point Loma, Anna from Naval Base Coronado, and Yachi from Naval Base San Diego. Next slide, please. So in 2020, Sandag was awarded a grant from the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation, or OLDCC, a section of the U.S. Department of Defense, to study the impacts of climate change on local military installations in the region. A second grant continuing this effort was awarded last year. That's some of what I'm talking to you about today. The goals of the grant are to support resilience of these bases towards implementing national defense strategy, resilience to sea level rise, surge storm events. Secondly, to assess resilience of Navy installations with the potential to develop considerations for Sandag's CMCP efforts. And finally, to develop business processes and protocol for data and information sharing between Navy and Sandag. Next slide, please. So during phase 1, Sandag and the Navy worked with project team stakeholders to complete an initial assessment of the climate change threats to military installations and surrounding transportation assets. Secondly, another key deliverable is a framework for data sharing between Sandag and the Navy to ensure accurate and complete data are available to planners. The aim is to strengthen resilience at military installations and throughout the region in general, while also maintaining mission readiness at Navy installations. And finally, throughout this project, the team has conducted outreach, including agency briefings at this working group and others, project meetings for Sandag and Caltrans CMCP programs, and general meetings of local community planning groups. Through this outreach, the project identified some of the key modes of access, challenges and obstacles, and continuously refining their outreach approach throughout the project. Coming out of the first phase of the project was a final report and executive summary, both of which are available on Sandag's website, a link to which I'll drop in the chat after I present. Next slide, please. So for phase 2 of this project, Sandag will continue coordination with the Navy and the Department of Defense in implementing strategies to improve climate resilience and safeguard mission readiness for Southwest San Diego military installations, those 3 bases I mentioned earlier. In addition to collaboration with the military, Sandag is working with HNTV, our consultant, to advise and prepare best approaches in addressing resilience planning for transportation on and around military bases. To ensure consistency across the region's major jurisdictions, Sandag will also continue its collaboration with the City of San Diego, Caltrans District 11, the Port, and various other stakeholders through stakeholder meetings. Next slide, please. So this last slide is just a timeline. Over the last few months, we've been gathering and analyzing data, which we are using to inform stakeholder engagement sessions. Over the next few months, we will develop adaptation strategies for the 3 corridors I mentioned. And we hope to return to this group periodically to provide updates on some of the deliverables coming out of this project. And one more thing to note is that this phase the second phase was intended to be 1 year, but it's been extended to 18 months, which is reflected with this timeline. And last slide, please. This is my contact information. As I say, I am a project manager on this project. I'm being joined by Jeff Hoyos. But if you have any comments or questions, I would definitely invite you to reach out to me directly. I noticed on the call today, we have Anna and Yachi, our Navy counterparts, and I would invite them to, make any comments now. And I definitely welcome any comments from the working group or from the public.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate you. So Anna, if you are here, we'd love to hear from you. Or Steve, who else was on that group? Adam.
Yachi, I believe I saw. And Anna. I hope I'm not putting them on the spot, but just if they have anything to add. As I say, we hope to return to this group in the future to provide a more comprehensive presentation on some of the deliverables that we are working on. But we're just still in the beginning phases of this project.
Great. I would ask that we do send, I know you said you were going to put the link in the chat, but let's resend it as part of that information sharing to the group one more time. I think it's great. The second part is, as we talk about Navy installation resilience phase 1 and 2, I think it's really important to talk about what it means to the community and why it's important. Sometimes again, we make nice names and we we talk about what the topic is, but it doesn't make sense to the community. So I think really kind of pushing this message out would be important for our community at large as well. Steve, hands raised, go ahead.
Yeah, Madam Chair, on your comment, and I know Adam's going to be circling back here with additional details, but both in phase 1 and phase 2 grant, while the focus has been on transportation, sea level rise, there are in both of those grants components that speak to and incorporate necessary educational outreach to those adjacent communities. And I'm sure in the next more detailed update, I would think, Adam, you can jump in and say, no, Steve, you're way off base, that it will include some elements of the outreach as the Sandag and Navy team garner some additional details of their analysis. So just wanted to share that soundbite, Madam Chair.
No, I appreciate that. I think, again, things that resonate with the community, transportation, housing, sea level rise, those are the things that we do talk about. Sea level rise, not so much. I'm really glad we're talking about it more so. But we do have a lot of common issues. And when I hear resilience, I think of, all the struggles of, the various constituencies that we work with. So there's that intersection. I don't know if we have any other thoughts. Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk if we have any members of the public wishing to address us on this item.
Sure, I don't see any hands raised.
All right, for our team here, it is 10:02. I'd like to end my meetings on time and on budget or under budget, right? With that, we will be asking staff to keep our presentations tight, to the point, And we move on to item 7. This is a transportation demand management program. Go ahead. I have Jay Fott from Sandag.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Jay Fott. I'm a senior business analyst with the Mobility Planning Division at Sandag, and I work with the Transportation Demand Management programs. And I'm going to share my screen here so you can see my presentation. Let me just get this all set up. And there you go. Can you see the presentation then? Okay, yeah. Wonderful. So again, good morning. And since the gas prices have gone up so much recently, we've been really seeing an uptick in requests from employers and commuters looking for assistance with finding an alternative commute. And even from people who love their cars and never even thought about using an alternative commute before, they're starting to think about their bottom line and trying to figure out ways that they can save money. And from what I understand, there are still quite a few people in the military who are working from home, which is wonderful. Working remotely certainly is one way to take cars off the roadway. But since some positions are not really teleworkable and some positions you really need to go in, I'd like to let you know some of the resources that we have at Sandag iCommute. And many of you have already met with and are working with our TDM account executive, Patty Talamantes. She has been working with the military for the last 6 years to promote transportation alternatives. And let's see, there we go. So Sandag has a really robust employer outreach program where we work with more than 200 employers to help them develop policies and programs that help reduce the drive alone rates at their work sites. The military has been very active in our program over the last many years, and we continue to meet with various branches to help educate and inform personnel about their commuting options. So one of the first things that we do when we start working with a new employer is we do an assessment at their work sites to see what type of infrastructure that they have in place that can support alternative commuting. Do they have showers for people who are biking? Do they have bike racks? Do they have break rooms? Do they have shared work cars for employees to check out when going to appointments? The military bases obviously are very well equipped with this type of infrastructure, so that makes our job a lot easier. And then we revisit that assessment every year to be sure nothing has changed. One of the most important steps in our process, though, is to conduct a survey of staff and personnel. The survey is completely anonymous. The survey lets us know how people are currently commuting to and from work. Are they driving alone? Are they taking transit? Are they sharing a ride in a carpool or van pool? And from that, we can then calculate a drive alone rate. Our GIS team then takes that data and they create a map specific to each work location or each base that shows where people are coming from in relation to transit lines, bike paths, and park and ride lots. And that allows us to identify what alternative modes and methods we can recommend. The survey also digs a little bit deeper and measures what alternative modes the employee or the military personnel would be willing to consider. And then we present those findings to the employer and we work with them to create a trip reduction plan. And we go through that process about once every 2 years. Once we know what modes will work best for the particular employer, then we start scheduling either on-site or virtual events so people can learn more. And these are events that are hands-on with incentives to really entice people to change their commuting behavior. And then at the end of the fiscal year, we tally up all the events that the employer held and the mode shifts that have taken place. And then we invite those employers to a luncheon and we present them with those with the greatest success, at least with a diamond award. There are several tiers, a bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. And on average, an employer who works with Sandag on their commuter program is able to reduce their drive alone rates by about 10%. So one of the work programs I want to tell you about is the Sandag van pool program. Some people have an image of van pooling of 15 people crammed into an old white van with large row seats. And that's not necessarily the case. While we do have some larger vehicles, most of our van pools are actually smaller SUVs that just have about 7 seats, such as a Nissan Pathfinder or maybe a Dodge Durango. Van pooling works best for people who are commuting longer distances, perhaps 20 miles or more in one direction. And van pools can range in size from 5 to 15 people. All of the passengers in that van then split the cost of a lease of a brand new vehicle from one of our 2 vendors. Sandag pays a $400 per month subsidy for every van pool to reduce the monthly lease costs. Unless you're using an electric van pool where we actually provide $500 per month, since those vehicles are a little bit more expensive. The lease cost also includes insurance and maintenance. Both of our vendors offer the Tesla Model X for our van pool program, so you can commute to work in style. We have about 5 of those actually that are on the road right now. And all federal employees, including military, are eligible for the Transportation Incentive Program, or the TIP benefit. And that provides up to $280 per person each month to pay for a van pool or transit commuting costs. So with our subsidy and then that TIP benefit, most military personnel who van pool or take transit have a completely free commute. In all, we have about 359 active van pools. Before the pandemic, we had over 600. So we've lost a few, but we are starting to see many of those van pools start back up. In fact, there have been about 15 new starts of van pools over the last couple of months. So that's great that we're starting to see that pick back up. Over the last 10 plus years, the Sandag van pool program has been responsible for reducing between 95 and 100 vehicle miles, between 95 and 100 million vehicle miles from area roadways each year. So that's pretty significant. And even during the pandemic, when we lost some of our van pools, we were still able to reduce about 60 million vehicle miles from area roadways, as you can see there in 2021. Let's see. There we go. So the military is the biggest sector of our van pool program. Out of the 359 van pools, 132 vans, or 37%, are traveling to military bases. Other federal employers, such as the VA Medical Center and the Border Patrol, make up an additional 28%. So the majority of participants in the van pool program are receiving the federal TIP benefit, making their commute just about free. When you look at each military base, Naval Base Coronado has the most van pools with about 41 vans, or 31% of the military participation. Right behind that is Naval Base San Diego with 40 vans, or 30% of the military participation. And third on the list is Camp Pendleton with 25 vans, or 19%. For years, Camp Pendleton had the most in our program, but that has shifted over the last few years, perhaps because of the pandemic. I'm not exactly sure, but we'd love to see some more vehicles over there at Camp Pendleton. So we'll be in touch with you guys so we can try to get those numbers up. And the majority of our vans traveling to military bases are actually coming from Riverside County. So they are traveling quite a distance. Also, Sandag operates and maintains about 700 secure electronic bike parking spaces at 65 locations throughout San Diego County. And all you have to do is just register on our website at sandag.org/icommute and send in a $25 key deposit, and then it's completely free after that. Biking to work is great, but we also know that biking the whole way might be just a little bit too far for some people. So combining a bike trip with a transit trip is a great way to help make that commuting choice a little bit easier. We currently have about 499 members in our bike parking program. Sandag is also responsible for developing and updating the regional bike map. We come out with a new version of this about every 2 or 3 years. And the brand new bike maps literally just arrived on Friday afternoon. So there was a box sitting in my office. So we are going to be distributing those to all of our partners, including the military bases and our local jurisdictions, in the next few weeks. And of course, you can pick them up on Bike to Work Day. And for those people who are wanting to ride their bike more often and start commuting on a by bike, we actually have classes that can help with that. We have a partnership with the San Diego County Bicycle Coalition to provide tune-ups, group rides, and commuting 101 or commuting 201 classes. The 101 class is really for beginners who don't have a lot of experience riding yet. And the 201 class is for more experienced bikers who'd like to gain a little bit more confidence in their bike commutes. We also have a similar program with schools where we can provide instruction to individual classes, or have a group assembly for schools as well. I know the Navy and the Coast Guard have scheduled several of those classes over the years. And speaking of biking, we also have Bike to Work Day. Let's see if I'm on 2 screens here, and there we go. Bike to Work Day. So Bike to Work Day is back. It is Thursday, May 19th. And we will have 100 pit stops throughout the region. And this year we had Naval Base Coronado and Naval Base San Diego sign up for pit stops. So they will be official pit stop locations this year, but we'll have other pit stop locations near the other military bases as well. That's where you'll be able to pick up refreshments and prizes, and of course the free t-shirts. Also, as part of Bike Month, there are 9 community bike events that are taking place throughout the region through April and May. So some of those have already started. There will be others that will take place throughout the rest of this month as well. And let's see here. Okay, Try Transit. So Try Transit is actually a program that is actually one of my favorites that I work on here at Sandag. This is a joint partnership with Sandag, MTS, and NCTD, where Sandag purchases month-long transit passes from our transit partners at a 50% discount. We then work with employers in our program to distribute the passes to first-time transit riders at their work sites. The employer needs to have completed one of our employer surveys, and the survey needs to show that there is an interest from the employees to use transit. Then we schedule a presentation for their staff to show them how to use transit and what lines are near their work location. After the presentation, then we go through and we do individual trip plans for everyone that attended, so they can see exactly how to get to and from work or base on the bus, trolley, or coaster. And as long as the transit trip makes sense and is reasonable, as long as it doesn't take them, 3 hours to get there, we'll give them a pronto card with a free month pass loaded on it. And the participant just needs to sign an agreement that says they are going to commit to using transit for at least 8 months during the trial period, and then complete a survey at the end of the trial to use, and then also let us track their ridership. We have found that about 50% of the people who use their pass will then go on to purchase a pass on their own the following month. And keep in mind that military members can also use the tip benefit for their transit commute. So if they continue to use transit, their commutes will be free. And we've had successful Try Transit events at both Naval Base San Diego and Naval Base Point Loma. One of the reasons that people give us for not using an alternative commute is that they want to have access to their vehicle in case of an emergency. So Sandag has the Guaranteed Ride Home program that helps take that fear away. So if someone carpools, van pools, takes transit or bikes to work, then they can use this program. They just have to simply, if they get sick at work or they need to get home in case of an emergency, they simply call an Uber, a Lyft, a taxi, or they can even use a rental car and then send in a request for reimbursement, and we will reimburse them up to 3 times per year. And amazingly though, people don't even use the program as much as they think they will. It's just nice to have just in case. And then finally, just to end here is our telework program. We've been promoting telework as a commuter solution for many years, but it wasn't until the pandemic when so many businesses embraced it as a true solution. In March of 2020, so many employers were thrown into a new way of doing business, whether they were ready for it or not. So right away, Sandag provided a series of webinars to help employers adjust. And the recordings of those webinars are all available on the iCommute website. But we wanted to take this opportunity also to make the teleworking environment successful at these work sites, so it would continue to be offered as a solution even after the pandemic was over. And we're seeing some employers really embrace that. We developed 5 employer training modules, and employers can sign up for any that they're interested in. They don't need to go through all 5. It sounds like the military has a pretty good and robust telework program, but if you need any assistance, our team of account executives are trained and they can provide work on the development or refinement in telework policies. They can help determine employee eligibility, training for managers, providing a technology review, or we can do an evaluation of an existing telework program to ensure it has long-term success. And so that's it for the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. If you would like to reach out to either me with more information, my email is on the screen there, or also Patty Telemontes, her email is on there as well, and she works very closely with the military to help them develop these programs.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jay. Really appreciate you. Are there any questions from members of the working group? Lots of information, definitely fire hose there. But I think all those details are essential. I mean, when you can offer that technical assistance to managers regarding those that are commuting or telecommuting, I think is essential. I don't see any other hands raised. Any questions or clarifications from members of the dais? I will now ask the clerk, do we have any members of the public wishing to address us on this item?
Clerk, I don't see any hands raised, and I recognize that we, the PowerPoint presentation kind of hung up about halfway through, didn't have Jay's contact info. So
Oh.
Jay, yeah, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but maybe what we can do, if I can just suggest from the clerk role that we just have a PDF of that PowerPoint sent out to the membership, just to make sure they have your correct information, Jay.
Yeah, that'd be great. We can do that.
Yep. So be ready, everybody. You're going to get a nice thick email. Nice folder full of links, but very precious information that has definitely been worked on for quite some time. So thanks again, Jay. Really appreciate you. We now, are there any members of the public wishing to address us on this item? There, Phil?
No, I don't see any hands raised. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you so much. I see no hands again from members of the working group. I now move on to item 8. It's the Housing Acceleration Program update. Tueri, we have you up and slated. This is one thing that is near and dear to my heart. So I'll go ahead and kick it over to Steph.
Thank you, Chair. And good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Tueri Faola, and I'm really pleased to be here with you this morning to talk about Sandag's new Housing Acceleration Program. And, you know, since the adoption of the 2021 Regional Plan, we've had a lot of activity going on in our housing program. And given the discussions this morning about the importance of housing and our military and its linkage to transportation, I think it's really timely that I'm here today to talk about how Sandag is approaching housing from a regional role. Next slide. So I know that many of you had seen presentations about our now currently adopted 2021 regional plan, but there are a few things in there that I wanted to point out as we have some ambitious goals for our region. One is that we need to achieve and support the development of over 171,000 new homes by 2029. And this is part of our regional housing needs assessment, but it's also included in our regional plan. And then we also have another goal, which is to meet our state targets for our GHG reduction. Our state's goal was 19%, but our plan demonstrates a 20% reduction by 2035. So at Sandag, we fully acknowledge the need to look at bold approaches as to how we're looking at housing and supporting the production of housing, as well as our climate crisis, and seeing the intersection of both of them and looking for really transformative solutions that result in homes being built while also reducing our vehicles' mileage traveled. Next slide. So the regional plan also includes our region's sustainable community strategy, which is, it outlines a land use pattern that encourages growth near our employment centers and connecting communities with high quality transit. And the map you see here shows the priority areas identified within the plan. The areas in green are transit priority areas, or it's a half-mile buffer around most of our major transit stops within the region. If you do an additional click, you'll see our mobility hub network that's shown in the pink and purplish colors that just highlighted there. And we've identified 5 different types of mobility hubs within the regional plan, acknowledging that planning, mobility, and housing solutions are really unique for the various parts of our region. So that's why they're highlighted differently throughout here on this map. Next slide. So this slide here will give you a sense of really what is the magnitude of growth in housing production that we're working towards. The first row that you can see there in this chart shows housing production across income categories, so going from very low income households to above moderate, but it shows the housing production that's needed and what we've done over our last RHNA cycle. So the first row shows what we've done for those income categories across our last RHNA cycle, and you can see that we've been producing mostly above moderate income housing, and hearing the discussions today about the need for more affordable housing, that's probably no surprise to this group. In the second row, you can see the housing that's needed based on our 6th cycle of RHNA. So that's that 171,000 homes that I mentioned a slide or two ago. And while we do need housing in all of the income categories, the largest amount of growth that we need is really in that moderate housing income category and below. And, you know, I see our chair shaking her head. This is something that's really important for our region, is to see a significant increase in that so that we can start to really reduce some of the demand on the pressures that we all see right now on our housing system that are driving up the prices of existing housing. But we know that it's just not enough to do this alone. So we just are recognizing where this is an important part of Sandag's role in housing. Next slide. And so this timeline here that's coming across your screen here just highlights what Sandag has been doing for our housing program over the last year or two. And it starts off with in July of 2020, our board adopting that 6-cycle RHNA. So that was that 171,000 units that I mentioned that we need between now and 2029. Something else that happened that we're really excited about for our region is that the state has started to recognize how there is really a multifaceted approach that if we're going to be starting to solve our housing issues. And so they put out what is put here as REAP, but it's a Regional Early Action Planning Program, REAP 1.0. And this program is $6.8 million that was given to the San Diego region. The expenditure deadlines are from 2020 till 2023. And that's really what we're using to help stand up our housing program. In November of last year, our board of directors released a call for projects. It was completely, and it's the first time we've ever done one that was solely focused on housing. So we took a portion of those funds and suballocated it to our jurisdictions. Then we went into adoption of our regional plan, but also in December, we started our regional equitable housing subcommittee. And I have a few slides that I'll talk about that subcommittee later in the presentation. And then we just went to our board in March, awarding those first grants to 7 different jurisdictions. So we're really excited about putting funding into the hands of the local jurisdictions to help them accelerate housing production. And then there's another round of funding that the state has given us called the Regional Early Action Planning Funds, or REAP 2.0. And that's $43 million actually for the San Diego region. And we're just now starting to work through the development of how we're going to expend those funds and really support housing production. Next slide. So just highlighting again, I mentioned in the timeline, those 2 programs, just giving you a side-by-side here so you can see the funding and some of the different focuses between the 2. With the REAP 1.0 funding, that $6.8 billion, it was really and has been focused primarily on housing planning activities and our RHNA implementation. The REAP 2.0 program, while it does focus on housing planning activities, they also have a strong emphasis on, being able to use those funds for capital projects. So that's something that's definitely new that we'll be doing. And as we're looking to suballocate some of those funds, we'll be able to do capital in addition to planning. But one of the things I do just want to highlight that there is a different funding source behind the REAP 2.0 funding. It is actually funded through federal COVID relief dollars. So there's quite a bit of requirements that we need to do with that program and the funding that, for example, one of them is that we have to really demonstrate a clear nexus between our housing work, as well as to addressing the negative economic impacts of COVID. And so there's a lot of different things that I won't go into detail, but I'm happy to talk about with anyone if you desire to later. But we are at Sandag, we understand that this could be a lot in terms of how we would, monitor the use of those funds and be able to do the most with the program and wanting to implement our sustainable community strategy. So we are asking the state if they can take another look at the funding, think about how they might be able to give us at the regional level, and also when we provide the support to the locals, more flexibility in how we might be able to use the program. Next slide. So just focusing on the REAP 1.0 funds, this is showing you here how we've organized the program to date. So we're focusing on 3 key areas: our local jurisdiction support, our data analysis and policy resources, as well as regional initiatives. And the local jurisdiction support is really centered around those grants and different resources that we can provide to our local jurisdiction staff. For the data analysis and policy resources, these are efforts that are underway that will help us to monitor trends, understand equity considerations such as, providing maybe an anti-displacement study, and providing resources to help jurisdictions as they're implementing their housing elements and putting forward pro-housing best practices. And then under the regional initiatives column you see there, we have efforts underway that are convening stakeholders, providing educational opportunities, and really collaborating on regional strategies. For example, we have a housing policy leadership forum or academy that's already underway. We have 80 participants in that academy. Your chair is an alumni of that academy itself. And so this is just one of several regional initiatives that we're putting underway to help to educate people in the housing arena and get more people supporting the different things that we need to do at the regional level, on the local level, and even the grassroots level to see housing accelerated within our region. And another regional initiative that's highlighted here is our Housing Acceleration Program strategy. And what this is, it's an action-oriented strategy that'll really help Sandag's program and guide our program over the next few years, helping to direct the type of work that we do from a regional perspective. And we're working through this program, the strategy with our Regional Equitable Housing Subcommittee of the board, which I'll talk about next. So next slide. So as I mentioned, there is our board of directors adopted or approved the formation of a regional equitable housing subcommittee. They're focused on housing issues throughout the region. So if you go to the next slide here, I'll show you the membership that it's made up of. So it's chaired by Supervisor Tara Lawson-Reamer, but it also includes your chair here, as well as different representatives from our board. Anyone from our board of directors was able to volunteer to be part of this subcommittee, and I think they're always looking for input and considerations from the region as to guiding the work that they do. But if you go to the next slide, this highlights the specific work plan that the subcommittee is focused on. So right now they've met, I think it's been a total of 3 times since the formation of the subcommittee. And they're focusing on these 3 primary areas that you see here on the screen. So 1, we are asking for their input on the Housing Acceleration Program strategy, that action-oriented plan that will guide Sandag's efforts for the next couple of years. But a lot of the current meeting focuses have really been focused on the Regional Housing Finance Agency and exploring what that could look like for the San Diego region. And then as part of that housing financing agency, they're also looking at, and we'll dive into a bit more, potential revenue opportunities for how we can support, the development of housing within the San Diego region. So next slide. So a part of the program strategy is focused on 5 policy goals that are really guiding the work that we do. I won't go into each one in great detail here, but if you just read throughout the screen here, and I'm happy to talk about it more during the Q&A, we're focused on producing housing for all, preserving vulnerable housing, promoting equity, inclusion, and sustainability, also looking at how we might protect tenants, and then really focused on preventing displacement. And again, this is a strategy that is under development, and we'll be bringing it to that subcommittee and then hoping to take it back to our board of directors later this year to accept it with their approval. And we're happy to come back to this committee as well to give you an update on that. Next slide. So I mentioned the Housing Finance Authority, and I wanted to make sure that we covered and let this group know that as we're going through the subcommittee's work plan, there's also a current effort underway at the state level with regard to a housing finance agency. And so the subcommittee is really looking very closely at what the state has proposed, which is Senate Bill 1105. And this was a bill that was introduced by Senator Hueso to create, and they've called it the Regional Equitable and Environmentally Friendly Housing Friendly and Affordable Housing Agency, otherwise known as San Diego REEF. But the bill really describes the formation of what a new agency could look like for the San Diego region, its governance structure, some of the programmatic criteria that's in it, and the authorities that would be given to such an agency to generate revenues to support, innovative financing for housing within the San Diego region. And so right now this bill is making its way through the Senate, and the author is getting feedback from our subcommittee. We have formed a group of local stakeholders that are working with us at Sandag staff that are informing, and we're kind of stepping through different pieces of the legislation to get their feedback so that we can provide that to the senator's office on what's in the bill and what should be reflective of what San Diego would like to see. And then we're taking that feedback from that housing task force, from those local stakeholders, to our subcommittee and letting them weigh in on it as well, and then providing that all the way back up to the state as they're continuing to shape that legislation. So Supervisor Lawson-Reamer is really championing this effort, working with Senator Hueso's office. And I believe we'll be having another conversation with our subcommittee on May 13th. But if you are interested, our our local task force, our housing task force, is meeting on this afternoon. So I'll put my info in the chat if anyone would like to join and listen in or contribute to that conversation. Next slide. Okay, so I did mention our REAP 2.0 program, which is that 43 million. So I do just want to mention briefly where we see some of the focus based on the REAP 2.0 objectives. So if you could just go to the next slide, please. So here on the screen, you can see the REAP 2.0 program objectives. They really do align with what we have in our 2021 regional plan and its sustainable community strategy. And it's really looking at accelerating infill and affordable housing development, really how we realize multimodal communities. So supporting how we can promote reducing vehicles miles traveled through shifting travel behavior and increasing transit ridership, as well as I mentioned earlier, because this is federal COVID relief funds, we also do need to demonstrate how we're addressing the economic impacts of COVID through this. So, you know, the housing program is still really looking at how we'll use the REAP 2 funds, and we'll be doing some education and outreach opportunities to help shape that program. Next slide. And so this is just a timeline for how we're developing that. Everything within how these things are coming forward, they do seem to move relatively quickly, but the state legislature passed Assembly Bill 140, which established the REAP 2.0 program, and we're currently preparing our 10% advanced application. So the way the state has put this program together, you submit for an early application to do outreach and education that helps to shape how the program should look. And so we're currently putting our application for that together with the expectation that we would submit our full application, so that remaining 90% by the end of the year. And as I said earlier, the state is still working on finalizing the guidelines. Sandag has given the state some feedback on how we think the guidelines could be revised to be more flexible for our use and more flexible for our local jurisdictions' use in that. But once we hear from the finalized guidelines, we do outreach and education. We'll be submitting our full application at the end of the year. And then all of the funds have to be expended through the year of 2023 and 2026. And so it's just important to note that with this timeline, we'll also be compiling a new call for projects. We're hoping to have that ready by the fall so that we can suballocate some of those funds, similar to how we did with the first REAP 1.0 allocation. And then last slide here, just kind of, you know, high level highlights a couple of the things that we're doing over the course of this year. And so we'll continue to implement our housing acceleration program activities, providing that technical assistance to local jurisdictions and providing education and leadership opportunities through our Housing Policy Leadership Academy, our different forums that we offer for educational opportunities to the public and our stakeholders. We'll continue to work with the subcommittee on the Regional Housing Finance Agency and the legislation that's going through the Senate. And then we'll continue with putting together our application and the outreach and engagement on REAP 2.0 to do a call for projects and release that, and then doing our final application at the end of the year. So that concludes my presentation. I'll turn it back over to the chair for any questions or comments.
Thank you, Tueri. We really appreciate all the information. Again, lots of details going on, from a financial institution that is looking to be created to all of the numbers of 171,000 units being built in the region, to how we can empower all of our groups here at the table to work with their municipalities. And just to clarify, it is the municipalities that will be eligible for REAP monies versus the installations, correct?
Yes, it's municipalities only for REAP 1. REAP 2 does expand to transit agencies and tribal. And so we'll be looking for opportunities to collaborate and fund projects that they're interested in.
And can you share, are we looking at any of those employment hubs as getting any extra points, or because these are definitely partners who have big employment hubs?
Yeah, so we're working on that call for projects, and we will be bringing forward the evaluation criteria, which will allocate funding and points to how those local jurisdictions or the transit or tribal nations might use the funds. And employment centers are certainly one that we want people to focus on. That's part of our mobility hubs within the 2021 regional plan. And we want to make sure that that's criteria that's embedded within the call for projects.
Excellent. Well, thank you. I really, really, really appreciate that clarification. again, we want to make that connection with our colleagues here, and hope everyone sees their their contributions really will make a difference, and their voice to helping us address our needs, our housing needs for that matter. And that missing middle, I think you hit it. It's that missing middle that we want to be able to provide housing for. And yeah, so thank you. Are there any questions for members of the dais? I don't see
Sure.
it. Go ahead.
Chair, I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, we'll now move on to members of the public. Are there any members of the public wishing to address us on this item?
And Chair, I don't see any members of the public with their hands raised.
Well, that was quick and painless. Look at that, rip that Band-Aid off. But thank you, Terry, really appreciate you. Thank you to your team for helping us provide all these details. We'll now move on to item 9, which is the Harbor Drive 2.0 Investa Bridge project updates. I will now kick it over to Nikki and Donaldo from Caltrans.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Well, thank you for giving us the time to showcase these 2 projects that we are working on. Also, we are here asking you for your peripheral presence and support to get these projects actively going. My name is Nikki Tionco, project manager here at Caltrans, and I will present to you Harbor Drive 2.0. Mr. Donaldo Martinez will present Vesta Street after, and I will have him introduce himself then. So these projects are in coordination with all of you, Sandag, City of San Diego, City of National City, Naval Base San Diego, MTS, BNSF, and Port of San Diego. These work involve the working waterfront area of the San Diego Bay, both on and adjacent to the Naval Base San Diego. So for Harbor 2.0, this corridor extends from 10th Avenue Marine Terminal to National City Marine Terminal, which includes National City, Barrio Logan, Industrial Waterfront, and your major east and west connections to the Interstate 5 and State Route 15. The purpose of the Harbor Drive 2.0 project is to enable efficient movement of goods and people in this corridor, improve access and circulation, improve community safety, and address all our traffic-related or truck-related noise and emissions concerns of our portside environmental justice neighborhoods. And lastly, to enable safe access to transit and active transportation networks. To give you an overview of the scope of work of the Harbor Drive 2.0, it will include truck-only lanes throughout the whole day, and we will be removing median, convert existing right-of-way, and restripe to introduce the all-day dedicated truck-only lanes wherever it is feasible. 2 segments have been identified for the southbound Harbor Drive, and 1 segment was identified for the North Harbor Drive. The project will also install ITS technologies and wayfinding gantries to redesignate regular through traffic lanes as truck-only lanes during off-peak traffic periods along northbound and southbound Harbor Drive at certain locations. The project will also install wayfinding gantries to redesignate regular through traffic lanes as passenger and transit only lanes during off-peak traffic periods along Harbor Drive. Other ITS systems will include freight signal prioritization, where the project updates controllers and synchronized systems to support freight signal priority along the designated truck route on Harbor Drive. This project will also introduce freight queue jumps between the intersections of Harbor Drive and certain locations. Queue jumps will allow trucks to bypass other vehicles at these intersections and avoid queue formations. The project will also introduce new traffic signals, introducing new controllers and detection between at certain intersections. A gate operating system will also be installed to manage the flow of trucks through marine terminal gates, provide truck drivers at the gate with accurate automated work assignments, and reduce wait times outside the gate and truck cycle times within the terminals. A truck reservation system will also be installed, which combined with the GOS allows freight trucks to make appointments for cargo delivery or receipt within specific time windows. This system automatically disperses truck reservations over a range of time to reduce the peak of truck traffic at the gate. And this will avoid queuing along the designated freight route. This project will also install a geo fencing system using geographic positioning system and geographic information system data, vehicle telematics, and other ITS technologies to track location and path of freight trucks prior to entering or after exiting the port. Geofencing can be used to monitor and incentivize trucks to follow designated freight routes and provide disincentives, such as limited restricted access to TRS to trucks using local residential roads. I may have mentioned specifics, but these will all be explored further during the project approval and environmental document phase. A couple of items proposed in this project are pavement rehabilitation in areas with poor pavement conditions along northbound and southbound Harbor Drive, as well as connecting freeway on-ramps and off-ramps. Specific locations of these pavement rehabs will be further explored during the environmental phase. We also have some civil infrastructure enhancements. A portion of this project proposes to upgrade bicycle and pedestrian facilities at first and last mile connections that are currently below standard to ensure safe access to the Bakeshore Bikeway and nearby transit stations. Specific locations of the upgrades will further be explored in the next phase. Also, lastly, this project proposes to install zero emission commercial vehicle charging stations and achieve emission reduction targets for portside communities. Specific locations will be explored further. So this is a conceptual cross-section of Harbor Drive 2.0 in a couple of representative areas along the corridor. And this was created under the Harbor Drive Multimodal Corridor Study back in 2019. Caltrans and Sandag are also currently working on what we call the Harbor Drive 2.0 concept of operations. The concept of operations captures a vision and a roadmap for deployment, development, and operations of a future Harbor Drive multimodal corridor, and is based upon and developed by stakeholder input that included the San Diego Unified Port District, Sandag, Caltrans, City of San Diego, City of National City, San Diego MTS, and the Navy. This vision was articulated through the completion of the Harbor Drive multimodal corridor study back in 2019. So here is a little bit of a glimpse of what the timeline is of the Harbor Drive project. We are expecting to get approval of the project initiation document in June. That's next month. And we're hoping to start the project approval environmental document phase by September of this year. The design of this project will start in January 2024, pending the approval of the environmental document by December 2023. Construction of this project will start in February 26. Next up is Vesta Street, and I'm going to give this to Donaldo Martinez.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you for that update. Thank you, Mayor Alejandra, for having us in this forum. I'm happy to come back. We reported Vesta Street, I'm going to say maybe about a year ago or almost a year ago. And we were initiating the project approval and an environmental document. And so happy to be here and give you guys a quick update. So one of the major features of this project is the Vesta Street Bridge, highlighted right here. Is the major component, and it will connect the dry side with the wet side on Vesta Street. Along with this technology, we wanted to start kind of advancing a little bit of what will happen with Harbor Drive 2.0. So we were planning on putting some signal prioritization at specific intersections that are in the immediate vicinity of Vesta Street. Along with this, we were going to widen the I-15 southbound off-ramp onto Main Street. And so can we go to the next slide, Nikki? And so just a glimpse of the bridge that we're proposing, we're looking at, and we're having the conversations with the Navy, with the City of San Diego, and we're hoping that eventually we'll come up with something that is going to be not only functional, but it'll be pleasing to the community, and it won't be an eyesore for people that drive on Harbor Drive. So we're hoping to have something aesthetically pleasant. Can we go to the next slide? So in our initial concepts that we had a bridge with 2 lanes on each direction. But through conversations right now with the Navy, there is an appetite to include bike paths, including a space for bicyclists to use the bridge. And so since then, we've been modifying the concepts. So the concepts that you see in front, we have 1 lane on each direction and 1 lane that could be used as a managed lane to have traffic depending on the demand. And the Navy would have the I guess the option to reverse that managed lane. We include a sidewalk for pedestrians and a bike lane. We're still talking with the city of San Diego, and they're giving us ideas on how to better protect the bicyclists. So probably the final concept of the bridge, or the final bridge, will look something different, keeping in mind safety for cyclists. Can we go to the next slide, Nikki? So this was the original concept, just 2 lanes on each direction, but really no space for cyclists. So since then, that's one of the conversations that we're carrying. Next slide, Nikki. And this depicts the different features that we'll be putting or that the project is taking on. So we have some intersections, number 3, number 2, number 4, with the oval with FSP. That's a signal prioritization technology. So we're hoping to get traffic or commercial traffic out of that intersection of Harbor Drive and 32nd and onto I-15, get them in and get them out quickly. The rest of the intersections that you see numbered in there, those are the intersections that we took a look at for purposes of a traffic study. The traffic study is almost completed, and that's what we're using as basis for the Bessa Street Bridge and for the improvements that we'll be making at intersections 2, 3, and 4. Next slide, Nick. So in here, we're highlighting some of the pavement rehabilitation. So as I mentioned earlier, we are hoping to widen the I-15 southbound off-ramp to Main Street. And we want to add an additional lane, and that additional lane would be an optional left or right turn lane. So that's one of the features that we'll be doing with the project. Besides that, we want to make sure that we leave, in particularly the intersections that are mainly used or heavily used in good state. So we're proposing at this moment, the intersection of 32nd and Harbor Drive for us to rehabilitate it, make sure that the pavement is good when the project is done. And also the intersection of Bessa Street and Main Street. We're thinking that with the Bessa Street Bridge, maybe a lot of the people that use the Navy or going to the Navy will be using that as an entrance or as an exit. And so traffic might increase at this intersection. So being proactive, we're looking at making sure the road is in good state so that it's useful after the project is complete. Next slide. And so we began the environmental document. We're having to deal with a lot of disciplines, right? Doing a bridge and doing it in an area where we have a lot of utilities, a lot of unknowns. So we've been coordinating with the Navy, and we've had some of the environmentalists going already and start some of the studies. We will subsequently need to go and do some exploration drilling to see what the soil underneath is like, what kind of mitigations do we need to take into consideration during design. And so we're looking at all of those issues right now. We did complete a noise study inside of the Navy, I guess, to see if we need to mitigate for any noise that could be an outcome of the bridge being constructed. We're also doing some visual studies, visual analysis, like I said earlier, to make sure that whatever we do is not going to be unpleasant or something sore to look at. So we're hoping that we have something aesthetically pleasing, and that will function the Navy and it'll function the community. So we're hoping to end the environmental document in March of 2023, begin the design in June of 2023, and construction to be completed on February of 2026. And that's the presentation. If there's any questions for Nikki and myself, we'll be happy to entertain them.
Great. Well, I know this has been a long time coming. Great to hear that there is going to be a groundbreaking. So we do have, going to ask if there are any members of the dais that would like to ask any questions. No, we do have, I believe, a member of the public wishing to address us on this item. Mr. Clerk, can we get that member of the public?
Yes, Nicole Burgess, gonna unmute your microphone.
Thank you, Chair. And I just wanted to say thank you to Caltrans for this update on this project, and really appreciate the Navy and its voice to improve the Vesta Bridge to include bike facilities, and the continued work to work with San Diego, City of San Diego, to make sure that that's a protected, safe facility for all ages and abilities. And then I just wanted to highlight, so that I really am appreciative of, and as I mentioned before, I'm a big advocate for, I work with the Chollas Creek Coalition, and this 32nd Street is the barrier for the end of the Chollas Creek. So the Chollas Creek comes right out here at 32nd Street. There was a past alignment that actually got us down to the Bayshore Bikeway. We've had some difficulties, and City of San Diego actually wants to take it all the way up in Main Street, which a lot of background information, I guess you could say, and how it addresses clean water, the Chollas Creek alignment, and how it connects to the Bayshore Bikeway. The widening of SR15 is a little concerning, as it's eating up a right of way that really access for pedals and bikes down that I-15 corridor is so limited. And that's why we're talking about a grade separated bridge, flyover bridge, to connect to the Bayshore Bikeway. And you know, if we can make room for cars, why are we not making room for the peds and bikes? So really like looking and evaluating that widening and how it's going to affect the bike access as we come off onto Main Street. Currently, the City of San Diego does have a current project to connect from Main Street up to up north, up towards the Spring Valley. So just want to let Caltrans know that Chollas Creek, if there's any collaboration we can have on these conversations, as it's critical that we provide that access. And I just heard you say, get as many cars in and out as fast as possible. Actually, that should not be the goal. The goal should be to get as many people safely in and out of that area. So thank you so much for the presentation.
All right, thank you so much, Nicole. Appreciate your thoughts. Thank you again to Donaldo and Nikki for the presentation. I do not see additional hands raised from members of the dais. Again, this was for information only. However, I think it's important that we continue to keep our members apprised of how it's going. This is definitely a project, again, that's been in the works for quite some time. So congratulations, looking forward to the groundbreaking. Okay, we now move on to item 10. And that is the continuation of teleconference hybrid meetings. We do have some thoughts from our team here, but I know we had a lot of information, and I'm seeing some of you turn your cameras on, so now I get to know who you are, but there may be an opportunity for us to meet in person. So I'll go ahead and let Phil share a little bit more about what's on our mind.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this item is just to discuss the continuation of hybrid meetings. So the Board of Directors can make a determination every 30 days to continue the option for hybrid and virtual meetings. And so that continuation was made this past April. I think they have until May to do that again. And then that would be an option for this group to continue meeting both hybrid with some options for in-person or 100% virtual if the group so chose. So wanted to share that for discussion. I know this particular working group kind of pulls from afar. In a sense, we have a representation from Oceanside and Imperial Beach, kind of on the corners there, with some other installations that are further away as well. So just wanted to share that was an option for the group. But of course, if the group so chose, they could meet 100% in person. So just wanted to tee that up as far as the options for you, Chair, for discussion, and staff can be here with any questions as the group discusses.
So being as how we have about 3 minutes left, I would love to hear from our team members. However, what if we did by show of hands, let's see who's paying attention still and doesn't just have their cameras on, they're out doing whatever, doing their shopping. But how about for those that are interested in meeting in person, if you could use your reaction hand and raise your hand for in person. 1, 2, okay, all right. I've got an actual hand up, all right. I think that counts. Okay, 2 actual hands up. I've got 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll raise mine. 5, 6, 7. All right, I'll give you 2 seconds more. All right, all those wanting to stay 100% virtual. I never get to see you ever until you turn that camera on. Okay, we do have 1 hand raised. Okay, and I'll give you another 10 seconds for those wanting to do just 100% virtual. And then we'll go. Thank you, Mary, appreciate you. Okay, and what about those that want to do a hybrid? I didn't mention that was going to be an option, but if it is a hybrid option, quasi, I guess you can vote twice. I guess that works too. We just want to get as many thoughts out here as possible. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right. We do have the votes. Are there any burning, requests given this conversation or this item that you would like to share? Because I know we're all in varied spots, with comfort level as well as how things are getting accomplished. And since we haven't met since December, I do want to give that cushion of being able to have that flexibility. So why don't we say the next meeting will be, well, we'll talk about it. I don't want to, I don't want to say 100%, but I'll work with Phil to confirm what we're going to be doing later on this week for the team. We got the tallies. I think we're in. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you for holding the discussion. Appreciate it.
Discussion or kind of like a hands raised. I love that. Okay, are there any members of the public wishing to address us on item 10?
Here, I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, our next meeting will be on September 12th. Again, since we do have our meetings staggered, I hope by that time we will be able to be in person. Some of the emergency orders will be lifted to see you all in person. But until that time, feel free to reach out to any of our members here, to the staff. You'll be getting a nice little email with all the information. And so with that, I'll call meeting adjourned. It is 11 o'clock on my computer. Meeting adjourned. Thank you so much.